Hey, beautiful people. Welcome to Crowns and Conversations, the space where every story is honored, every journey is valid, and crowned or not, you belong here. I'm your host, Frankie Purdy, your reigning Universe United Mrs. 2025. I'm a wellness advocate, a lover of all things pageant, purpose, and power. Crowns and Conversation is about creating a space for real talk with real queens doing real things. Whether it's about platform building, personal growth, or what's in your crown box, we're here to celebrate the story behind the sparkle. And today's guest is one you're going to absolutely want to know. So grab your tea, get comfy, and let's get into this royal conversation. All right, y'all. Today we're welcoming a queen whose story is rooted in purpose, service, and heart. We have Kashun Monique, the reigning Universe United Miss 2025 and the former Miss Virginia U.S. International 2023 and 2024. Through her platform, H.O.P.E, helping others prosper effectively, she works to support and uplift youth battling depression using mentorship, workshops, and advocacy to remind young people their story doesn't end with struggle, but begins with strength. Beyond the stage, Kashun is a proud first-generation college graduate and a human resource coordinator at my alma mater, VCU. With years of experience in leadership, recruitment, and employee engagement, she is deeply committed to service through organizations like R.E.A.L Girlz, where she was honored as the Volunteer of the Year through the Tazewell Winston Jr. Foundation, which she founded to provide scholarships for students pursuing their dreams. Please help me welcome a woman who leads with resilience, compassion, and purpose, the incredible Kashun Monique.
I'm so excited. Thanks so much for having me today.
Well, you know what, y'all? This is my sister queen. We are queens in the same system. And she is the first from the system to be on my show today. So she gets cookie points. So I'm moving her up the Christmas list this year. So yay. But as I always say, this is Crowns and Conversation. So let me get my crown on. This is fun because we have our crowns are the same because we're sister queens.
So nice with your curls.
Girl, I'm trying to get like you. You always have your curls popping, sis. I'm up here. I had to set my curls and I had to re-spritz them. And I'm just like, I'm trying to like show off my inner Kashun. My hair's not as long as yours, but we're trying.
Look, it's still pretty.
Well, I appreciate you, friend. Kashun is definitely a sweet spirit, a sweet soul, and I love her very deeply. I'm very blessed to have a good set of sister queens, with Kashun being one of those. Yes, ma'am. So let's get started. So your platform, H.O.P.E, it focuses on supporting the youth battling with depression. What inspires you to make this mental health the center of your advocacy?
Yeah, so that all started when I was, I guess you can say, elementary school. So elementary school, I lost my nephew. It was the first loss I've ever experienced in my life. And that kind of carried over into middle school in sixth grade. So just for a timeline, he passed away when I was in fifth grade. And then, of course, I started middle school in sixth grade. And so sixth grade, I was depressed and I was sad and I didn't know what I was going through at the time. And I just happened to have an amazing counselor, Miss Dion. So shout out to Miss Dion if you're watching this. And she helped me to recognize exactly what I was going through, which was depression. And she helped me and guided me through it. And now through my platform, H.O.P.E, I now do the same for other youth who are battling depression. So I let them know that, hey, it's okay to say I'm not okay, to speak up. And it's okay, to just have days to yourself. But I also encourage them, to, do things that you like. Don't, just follow your friends, but make sure that you do stuff that you love. And I also love that I get to educate parents as well, because although I was in a house full of like people, no one knew that I was sad. No one knew that I was missing my nephew. No one knew, like, that I was being bullied in school. I want to say bullied. I'm not talking about like physically, but like, just like
Verbally, yeah,
we're still like hurt and stuff.
they do.
Yeah. And so I was just going through a lot in middle school, but I was just like, I attempted suicide in middle school, and that's how all that came along. And that's how, when I got Miss Dion, I actually went to a few counselors before I stumbled upon Miss Dion. And once I got her, like, she did not give up on me like the other counselors, and we're even locked in until today. Like she still checks on me and stuff. If I have big celebrations, she come. So yeah.
I love that. You brought up a lot of good points, being in a house full of people, them not seeing signs. With that being said, from your experience, what do you think some of the biggest mental health challenges are that are facing the community?
Just talking about it. It wasn't talked about much. Actually, it wasn't talked about at all when I was younger. And
Mhm.
even now, as a mental health advocate, it's still not talked about as much as I would like it, to my satisfaction. And that's probably just me personally, but I feel like it could be talked about more.
Mhm.
But I feel like when people try to express themselves and they're seen as like crazy, people just automatically want to throw them into therapy instead of just saying like, hey, take your time, like cry, like instead of actually understanding what that person is going through,
Mhm.
guiding them to get the help that they need. They just like push them to the side. So I think if we can like as a community or like as a world, just listen to what each other is saying and try to like actually be like, a beacon of hope, a beacon of guide to like guide them to the right resources.
I love that, and I mean, I can attest to that. One of the first things Krishan did when we all, won our titles was our monthly queen check-ins. We haven't done one in a while. It's always hard to try to coordinate with all of our schedules, but that is something that she was definitely on the forefront of wanting to do. So, this platform is not something she just puts on for funsies. This is what she really does, y'all. So, and I just want to let y'all know that I'm a testament of that, and seeing her good works in terms of just caring and wanting to listen, and that's really appreciated. And I know, on behalf of everybody, I just want to say thank you for making that a thing for us to do. Also too, like, what are some early signs of depression that you can identify in young adults before it becomes a blown out crisis?
I would say there's many signs, but a few signs that you can easily recognize is isolation. So
Hmm.
to go somewhere, especially if they're a person known for going places. If they're a person who, they're kind of to themselves, it'll kind of be hard to identify. If like your friend like always loves to go places with you, and they just stop or they don't really want to do the things that they love anymore, that's a big sign. Someone eating too much or even eating too less, those are signs as well. Just to name a few. But
And then we talked about this like a few sentences ago, but normalizing those mental health conversations. You're doing that with your program. I know you do that with us in our program. I know you do that with Real Girls. Like, what are some other agencies like schools and youth programs that you think could be effective to normalize those conversations about mental health?
I think the biggest challenge for the US and the world today is to actually get programs in the schools.
Mm,
I hope to do to get them in the schools. And one thing I want to do before my reign that I hope to achieve, and if not during my reign, hopefully sometime before I pass away. But I want like my legacy to be that I went back to the school where, I attempted suicide to talk to those kids. I'm not sure if home economics is a thing anymore, but I feel like if we're talking about like cooking, we're talking about like all that stuff, like why not throw mental health in there too? Because that is a big piece of the puzzle that a lot of schools miss and they don't hit the mark on that.
I agree. I definitely think, even talking with my mom, like in that generation, they didn't talk about a lot of things. They didn't talk about a lot of things that trouble youth. You know what I'm saying? Like, as women, like starting to date, you know what I'm saying? Like, how should I kiss somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like all these really important things that are necessary for us when it comes to mental health is really important. I think, like you're saying, like we need to have those conversations. And if we can teach kids how to cook and sew and all that stuff, we can teach them about mental health, their finances, college prep, all those things, they go hand in hand because burnout is real, especially with kids who are with all this overachieving they're doing. Like I saw a post the other day and it was like, start college when you're in 11th grade or when you're 11. I'm like, what in the world? Like things are starting sooner. Kids have a lot more pressures, like, so they are battling things. And if we're not having those conversations and not making it normal to have those conversations, then they're not going to think about it on their own because they're kids. So, I think it's amazing that you're placing yourself in these, with the kids and with the children to have those conversations and start making that stuff normalized. And then jumping on things like this and, talking about your platform. Because definitely, like, the backstory, people don't know this, but when I ask people to be guests, I ask them, like, is there something specific you want to talk about? And most queens just, or people who join the show, just like, oh no, we can just talk about whatever. Kershawn was very adamant that she wanted to discuss her platform today. And so, like I said, this ain't something she just puts that's pretend for her. This is real. And so I'm just so happy that she wanted to share with me and with you all today. And so I'm happy. I'm still like really happy to have you here. So, as someone who draws strength from your own journey of resilience, how has your personal story shaped the way you connect with young people today?
Yeah. Like I said before, like my story is kind of like what really started it all, started my service. I remember growing up and I had this amazing uncle. He's my favorite uncle ever. He's no longer with us today. But he always said, like, although we had little, he said there's someone who has it worse. And I would
Mhm.
do community service with him, and he was in a a wheelchair, just for reference. And so I saw him, and he would volunteer at the sheltering arms with other kids with disabilities. And I thought to myself, if my uncle, who's in a wheelchair, can get up and do service, what excuse do any of us have? And so that's where like my service really comes from. Starting like so young, and I can't remember how old I was. I just remember I was like so little, and I will always used to want to go with him, and even like cry on his lap in the wheelchair. Do service with him. It was always so fun, and so I think that's like all where it comes from. And I don't want anyone to feel the way that I felt. And that's why I feel like I'm so adamant about my platform. I don't want any kid to feel like they can't talk to anybody or to just be by themselves. Like, you don't have to be by yourself. And if you don't have anybody, feel like you don't have anybody, you have me. Like, reach out to me. I'll be there for you.
I love that. So we talk about empowering young people, that they don't have to just sit in whatever they're feeling, right? But they can truly prosper emotionally and academically. Like, what are just some of the ways you talked about your uncle and how he motivated you? And what are some other ways you've just seen how people have empowered young folks?
Yeah. Honestly, just by being there and listening, which goes back to what I said at first, at least the people that I surround myself with and within my community, they're
Mhm.
have organizations such as like Miss Tammy, who is the founder of Real Girls. So Real Girls is an all girls empowerment group, and it's mainly like teenagers, but starting like in the wintertime, that's when we bring on like our little sisters,
Mhm.
and they're like elementary school. So the teens get to serve as mentors for the younger girls. And also like Miss Yolanda, I volunteer with her as well. And she has like a king and queen's court. So her husband runs like the guys, and she runs the girls. It's so cute, and that's like a mental health like mindset coaching space as well. So just I make sure that I surround myself with people who are on the same mission as I am, to save the youth or to help them in some kind of way, shape, or form. Just be there in the community.
I love that. Let's transition a bit to some of your personal like accomplishments. So, being a first generation college student is a huge milestone. What did that accomplishment mean to you and your family?
Ooh, it meant so much to me, especially, as I said before, like my uncle saying, like, although we have little, there's always someone who has it worse. And just growing up, and when I got to a certain age, my late grandma, she passed away as well, but she told me, at one point, she said, hey, like, I don't have money to really get, school clothes for you. And I said, that's okay. And so I grew up not having, when I got to high school, once she told me the truth, I didn't have like clothes all the time, but I always had what I need, and I appreciated like her hustle and her hard work. She worked two jobs to hold down the house, and it wasn't just me; it was like everybody, like the whole family. And so I wanted to make sure that I went to college, and so I can get my education and give money to help out my family. And so that is what I'm still trying to do as I'm pursuing my MBA at VCU. And I just want to make sure that I have money to help my family so things can be like much better for us. I mean, of course, they're better now, but I want us to like not worry about anything.
I know that's right, girl. I have a similar experience. Like, everything I do is rooted in making my family proud of me. Um, My mom and dad, they always led the example, and of what I wanted to be. And if I could just be half as good as they are, I would be happy. I'm fortunate to come from a very supportive and loving family. And so, not everybody comes from that. So I love that you're putting yourself out there in a way where you can be somebody's, support when they need it, so they don't feel hopeless. And, I think that's amazing that you're putting yourself in that position. And you do so much, right? So you're balancing a career. You just said you're working on your MBA. You're also serving as you're also a reigning queen. You're also serving as a mentor. You're also running a foundation. You're also running you have all these pursuits. Like, how do you manage all these different roles and still find time to be Kashun?
It's all about my agenda. I have to put things in my agenda. And I always say, if it's not in my agenda, it doesn't exist. So when people like tell me stuff, I instantly have to write it down, or either put it in my Google Calendar, but more so write it down, because when I can see it, that's, to me, like, it registers like, hey, like, this is what I need to do. So staying organized is like a big ordeal for me. And also just making sure that I have time to do things that I love to do, such as work out or just sleep, to be honest.
And
I love recharging. Oh, I love to eat too. Yes. I love in new places. I have my friend Corey. We try to go and try at least one new restaurant each month. We've been slacking this month, but hopefully we get together soon. But we love Thai food, like Jamaican. We just love trying like new places, and just discovering like what other people like, different cuisines from around the world, basically.
That's amazing. And so with that, Krishana is very busy, but one thing I love about her, out of the many things I love about her, is she always finds space and time for you, even if she's multitasking. So this girl be doing it all. She'll be brushing her teeth, we'll be talking, she'll be when it's time to eat, she'll be like, I gotta eat, girl, because she has to stay with her routine. She's very routine oriented. I love that about her. She motivates me because I feel like I'm very non-routine oriented. So you inspire me daily. I don't tell you this, but you inspire me daily, and I'm really enjoying this conversation and getting to learn more about you. Because I have to be honest, we didn't talk about, I didn't realize about the suicide attempt until I was watching your on stage answer from the pageant. And I was like, how do I know this? Like, but I understand too, like, sometimes that kind of stuff is a little bit taboo and it hasn't really come up in a way that's organic. So I appreciate you don't trauma dump on anybody. But I did enjoy listening to your on stage question and just seeing how you incorporate that into all your endeavors and what you do. And so again, I'm going to continue to gush on you because we need to give people their flowers while they're still with us. And why not, gush on you in front of, all the people that are tuning in today, to learn about your platform and a little bit more about you. So with that being said, we were talking about all your different endeavors. And so I know I hear about this organization very often, but Real Girls, and the Tazewell Winston Foundation, how you've made service a big part of your life. Why are these two endeavors so important to your mission and your platform?
The Real Girls, my involvement with them goes back to my story with Miss Dion, who, just to reiterate, she was the counselor who helped me through that dark time when I was going through depression.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Dion said something back to me that I didn't remember saying to her when I was younger, but she said, I started, so she had an organization called I Am Girl when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That, I started the organization because of you. You told me that everyone who comes into your life always leaves. And I forgot I told her that. But when I told her that, I was referring to my counselors. Remember, I told you I went through a few counselors before I got to her, and she stuck with me. So she said, I made it for you so we can always, do stuff together on the weekends when we have time. And so I Am Girl became a huge part of my life when I was younger. I volunteered, I learned to be like a leader, and I even got to help younger girls once I had graduated from high school and went on to college. She let me come back and mentor. And so when I heard of Real Girls, I actually met them at a parade when I went there as my former title, Miss Black Richmond. And I was sitting in the car and I just saw these group of girls and it was like, hey, so nice to meet you. Do you mind if we get a picture with you? And basically, I've been stuck with them ever since. I love them so much. It reminds me so much of I Am a Girl. And so the two are in relation to each other, and they basically do the same thing. It's all about girls' empowerment, helping girls become leaders within their community, teaching how to be, like young ladies and young adults.
Mm-hmm.
That that was something that I had with Miss Dion when I was younger, and it's something that Miss Tammy continues to do to this day. And so the organization is very close to my heart.
I love that. I definitely believe. I know with the way things are going nowadays with not to get too much into certain things, but I think it's definitely important for girls to have their own space because girls go through a different set of stressors and a different set of just expectation. And I think it's important that we are together and we're helping lead and guide these girls to be able to make the best decisions for themselves where they don't have to feel pressured to do something they don't necessarily want to do because maybe they saw like, oh, well, when I was growing up, my mom always did what my dad said or whatever. And like, okay, yeah, we got that. But you know, we want you to, to feel comfortable in those type of decisions. And I think having those spaces allow girls to kind of like let their hair down and talk about those concerns and then like get other, girls' opinions about it as well. And I think those spaces are sacred. So I'm glad that they have real girls. I know for me, I'm a troop leader with Girl Scouts. And so I'm also really advocating for those specifically girl spaces where girls can be girls and they don't have to try to be something they're not. Because I swear, there's always some type of stuff going on. But anyway, as the current Universe United Mrs., what impact do you hope to make during your reign? You kind of like alluded to it earlier, but like, let's in terms of like, I want to do these things in my reign.
So my ultimate goal was to make a universal impact, and that was just to make sure that my message about hope got out there, and just continue to be like an example in my community of what can happen if you don't give up on yourself. I'll tell you like all the time, but I had people tell me like I won't accomplish this, or I won't accomplish that. I had like teachers tell me that, and it came to a point where I was trying to prove them wrong, but now I got to the point where I don't have to prove anybody wrong,
Period.
to prove myself right.
Yep. That's crazy you said that. I gave a speech, I think last weekend to a group of debutantes, and pretty much the speech pretty much says like your worth is not in the opinions of others.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like anytime you hear something negative and you crumble, is because there's a lack of belief in yourself. And you have to believe in yourself first because if however you talk to yourself or however you treat yourself, that's how other people are gonna treat you too. So, walk in the room like you own it, like walk up to that room and like it owes you rent, back due, you know what I'm saying? So definitely I agree. So definitely I feel like a lot of times people are, when it comes to titles and crowns, people are crown chasers. They just want to put a crown on and look pretty, and they're not thinking about what their impact is. They don't think about when they walk into a room and a young girl sees this crown and sees this sash, what type of impact are you going to make on them? So like, what do you feel like the responsibility is for public figures and title holders when they walk into spaces and they have these platforms, right? Like yours specifically is mental health, right? I know that you care about mental health and I know that you're actually talking about mental health. Like, so where is the expectation with public figure holders and title holders when it comes to platform creation?
Yeah, don't just talk about it, but be about it. If you're say like you're into whatever that your thing, your platform is, like make sure that that is being shown, like not just through social media, but through your actions. Because social media is just like kind of like a lookbook of what's actually going on in your everyday life. And if you're like honest, like with yourself and what your platform, what you're actually doing, all that will exude in whatever room that you walk into.
I know that's right. And so like how can these pageant platforms like yours transform the communities beyond the stage?
Yeah. I would honestly say like you and I are examples of how that is happening. Like with our platforms, like no, mine's being mental health and yours being like, holistic mental health as well. And
Mhm.
like both of us, like we're actively, in our communities and we try to do stuff with like traveling. Like I'll be coming and visiting you soon. And then I know that you also travel places and do like different things. And so just actually getting outside of your community, I think that's a big deal as well. Try to reach as many people as you can.
I love that. So, girl, we come into the end of our conversation. Believe it or not, girl, it's been 25 minutes. Can you believe it? It seems like it's been like 10. Are you wearing your title necklace?
I am.
I love mine. I never take it off. I don't know why I like it so much. I think it's like a little bit of like, I don't have my ring on. I think the necklace is nostalgia for me because growing up I had like a nameplate necklace. And I think that's why I love it so much. Cause like I asked my dad for it and he like, my dad always gives me things I wanted. So like I'm a little nameplate necklace. So I think it's like kind of nostalgic. But all right, girl. What is in your crown box? I know we kind of talked about it, but I want to.
Hopes and dreams.
Kashun said there is nothing in her crown box because she's traveling light.
Only thing that's there is the key, which is somewhere
in there.
In here. Yes.
And I got like my whole life in here. I got sunglasses, pads, I got a tie pin, I got a travel companion that goes with me everywhere on mine. Oh my gosh. So this is a fun question. Some fun questions to lighten the mood before we get off. But what is your go-to pageant hype song?
Oh, I love to play the song Feel the Rain on Your Skin. I play that all the time. I play it all the time. Not just doing like pageant prep, but also like sometimes before like my classes for my MBA program, or if I'm going out somewhere, I'll play it, especially doing like when I'm going out and doing like community service events. But because I feel like that song just makes me feel like good. And how can you feel sad listening to that song?
No, that's right. If you had to describe your pageant style in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
I would say elegant, fabulous, but still on trend.
I know that's right. Okay, I would have to say fierce, stylish, and I want to say elegant, but I feel like that's not a go-to for me. I guess another word from elegant would be like
Yours is still elegant though.
Okay, we'll go with elegant. We'll do that one. Okay, what advice would you give someone preparing for their first pageant?
I would say, do you. Worry about you. Do not compare yourself to anybody. One quote I love to say that I came up with is validation is for parking. You don't need anyone to tell you how to be you or get in your head about stuff. Like, be confident about who you are, because if you're not, that will show not just in interview, but that will show on stage as well, and you won't get the score that you want.
Okie dokie. So I'm gonna do a this or that, right? So I'm gonna say 2 things and then you say which one you prefer, okay?
Okay.
Evening gown or interview?
Evening gown.
And I interview for me. If your go-to snack, a salad or a hamburger?
Hamburger.
Okay, if you're going to an event, do you prefer crown and sash or just sash?
Crown and sash.
I know, right? It gives like I'm the queen, right? Like literally the queen. So okay, so if you're going somewhere, flats or heels?
Heels.
Period, right? I'm up here. If I can see heels, I'm taller than everybody. What'd you say?
I'd be in the airport with heels.
Girl, I know. We showed up, like she jumped out the car out of her drive, right? So we're all okay, story time real quick. So we're pulling up to the hotel for the first time, and Kashun looks like she walks out. She's like, I'm coming down. And I'm like, Kashun, what, the blazer dress and heels? We're going to Walmart. Oh, this is how I showed up. Like, I'm thinking, like, did you drive like this, sis? I think she did. I think she just changed her shoes. But yes, we went to Walmart and she had on heels and a blazer dress, looking super fab, on trend. But Kashun, thank you so much for taking up your time and joining us today. I swear, so Kashun and I, we talk almost like every day. We talk so often. We're like really like sisters now, for real, like sisters for real. We have to bring you back on so we can talk about like how we all started this whole friendship, because it's It's slightly untraditional and maybe low-key weird, but we here now and we in there. So we'll have to do like another time. I bring you back on and we talk about that because I think that's really interesting. And it's something I talked about before, like the importance of sisterhood in pageantry, because I feel like that's one of the things that keeps me going is the sisterhood and it's really important. So, but all right, girly, that wraps up our time. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye. All right, y'all. That was Kashun on Crowns and Conversations. I hope you join us for the next episode. Bye.